Hey,
Hey, what's happening, man?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great. I cannot complain, man. I'm staying safe in these COVID streets. I'm
Look at you. Where are you?
home.
That is a beautiful background.
I'm home in my basement slash home studio that I've been doing virtuals and interviews in, So we just kind of turned it around a little bit. Got some lighting and trees and stuff, you know.
I was about to say this brother is in Maui right now. Okay,
Man, I'm glad to be on with you tonight, man.
I am actually really glad to have you on. I am really excited about talking to you. I've known you for so many years and watched your journey and seen you really just become this. I mean, you were already, but the man you are now is like leaps and bounds. Out of all the things you've accomplished, what do you attribute the majority of your growth and development to?
You know what? I have one of the I think the greatest thing that I become is me, has become is me.
Mm,
Just being very authentic, being comfortable in my own space, in my own lane, Um
yes.
there's a place and time where you stop the comparison. And I decided to do that about maybe about 10 years ago when I turned 40. I decided, like, you know what, whatever, and just kind of try to, really focusing on what I was supposed to be going after. And what I had figured out is that I was going after a whole lot of things people thought I should go after or thought I should have. And when you do that, you run the risk of being somebody who you're not. So I'm
Mm.
really comfortable now. I think that's where everything right now organically is coming from, a place that I've just finally acquiesced to say, hey, it ain't nothing wrong with me, so I might as well just be that person.
At all. Man, let me tell you, that is the most freeing thing that you can possibly do. Uh, Taking off the pressure of trying to copy someone else's process or path is literally the most freeing thing because yours is the only one that works for you. And there are so many people, especially in the church, because you know that world well, who are literally copying and pasting entire ministries and entire processes and procedures and everything, and the way they talk and the way they move
Right.
and the way everything is copied. How do you get free from that though? That's a whole institution of thought. How
You
do you
know,
get free from that?
wow. You have to define, you have to allow your authenticity to define your own level of success, right?
Mm,
And everybody's not everybody is I think everybody's supposed to be mega, but mega is about your own perspective and context. That there
mm,
there are there are divine parameters of what mega is, and that, to me, mega means just great. And the Lord promised to make all of our names great, but great in comparison to who and to what,
mm,
right? And so, I may not be mega as it is defined by other people.
mm.
But when you authentically figure out what that is, and then who you do it for loves you back the same way that you love to give it out and do it, that's your success. You know what I'm saying? You're a success. You get away from these trappings. My latest thing that I'm trying to get away from is separating people's mentality or mindset from me being Bishop L. Spencer Smith to just simply being L. Spencer Smith. And I'm like, I have to remind people, me being a bishop, is not, or is a title that was given to me to operate expansively in the church world on the mountain
Yes.
of religion. But organically, who I am, even the bishop flows through L. It's just me. And one of the things that I've been just trying to get church folks to understand, it's okay to be titleless. It is
Mm.
really it is okay to be titleless, especially in order to
Brother,
find your identity. In order to
come
find,
on.
some people need to lose their title so they can find their identity,
Whew.
because that title is killing them. And that's what I preach, that's what I teach, that's what I sing about, that's what I live. If you call me Bishop, God bless. I know the entrapments and stuff, but I'd much rather in this season just be called L. Spencer. I'm good. I'm good. I've done that. Byron, I've been doing this since I've been 18. 18, 18, man. 18. I've been
Yes.
doing this, this preacher church world thing since I've been 18. Grew up in church. And so, everybody's really crazy about, oh, we got to get back to church. We got to get back to the building. And I'm like, if I'm never able to get back to the building, now, do I miss my church family? Yeah. Do I miss,
Yeah.
having that fellowship? Of course. But if I never go back to the routine of that, I'm good.
Good day,
I'm
Bishop, Pastor. God bless you. Oh, God. Oh, we got to get up, brother. We got to get up. Oh, yeah. One day we got to
Doc.
die. Yeah, die. We got you, die.
Right. I mean, for real though, it's a lot of people in my circle and in my position, are crumbling under the pressure because people only want them to be the iteration of themselves that makes them comfortable. And there are some people that need me to be bishop for them. And if that's what you need me to be, that's fine. I know how to do that. But don't compartmentalize me to that's all I am. No, that's just what you need me to
Yes.
be. And I've got a grace to be that for you. But there was an expansive definition of who God has made me to be. And I'm going to live out all of that. When I die, I'm going to die empty, not just in your little box. But if they're going to put us in boxes when we leave here, we shouldn't live in a box while we're breathing. So,
These are all facts, okay? I just got to say that very clearly. All facts.
Yeah.
Like, I have, being a former pastor, whenever I say former pastors, people always say, you can never be a former pastor. Look, because it's a title, like you said, it is a position, and the work, and people love to talk about your gifts, but there's a lot of people that can play basketball that haven't picked up a basketball in years. You don't keep calling them a basketball player. I get it. That's something you practice, and something you did. But there are so many sides to us. There are so many gifts inside of each of us. There are so many callings on each of our lives gifts that we have to discover. And to get pigeonholed into one is very limited. Very limited.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? We have made a whole manufacturing business in church of prophesying people their future and prophesying their purpose. And then when they dare become what you just prophesied, we try to put the genie back in the bottle, or we try to, and it's like, you make me feel bad. You just prophesied that I was going to the nations, but I went to the nations, but I didn't go in the wrapper or the gift or the package that you thought. And now you're trying to stuff me back. You're trying to, oh no, Well, I mean, it's and that's just, I think that's one of the liberating things about what's happening right now with the globe, with the world, with the earth, is there is such a liberation, or such a shaking, such a mandate, a revolution of personal freedom, a revolution. And those things are not, and that's not promoting anarchy. That's just saying, I just refuse to be limited by your limited definition of who I am. I'm just not going to do that. Just not.
That is good. I had this post the other day about someone asking God, is it okay if I step out my box? And God replied, what box? Because that is the reality. God didn't define us with a box. God put some stuff on it, but God didn't say, it's interesting. When we look at the creation story, because I love to go back to that. When we look at the creation story, like, yes, God separated day from night, but it was for clarity. It was for clarity. It was just for clarity. And each day was so you be clear that something started and something ended. But in your becoming, you can have as many days and as many rotations of the sun as are necessary in your experience. And that is the point of being created and continuing to create this version of yourself to live all the different expressions that God expected us to live while we're in these physical bodies.
I mean, and you're right. I mean, and here's the most scary thing is to get stuck in a day. That to get stuck in a day. You've experienced a morning and an evening, and it's a day, but there are more days that you can have, and I love that. That's God. The moment you come into a new light, a new illumination, a new revelation of unfolding purpose of who you are. You've stepped literally over into another day, not another Monday,
Another
Tuesday,
day.
Wednesday, but another day in God, another day in yourself,
Mm.
another day of identity. And again, I think people just get stuck in days, and they are afraid. They are there, and we, you know what, we made the way that the culture is, the way that we see people, we've
Mm.
made them afraid to have another day. Um, some people are afraid for me to have another day, for example, because they don't know if that day includes them. And truth be
Talk about
told,
that.
and listen, truth be told, that's not even my determination. It is, can you cross over into my day, the day that I'm in, and make yourself relevant to our relationship? Because
Mm.
it's not like I want to fire you. It's not. I don't walk around with scissors as a, I'm cutting folks off. I walk around with, a needle and thread, because I try to sew things together. So that I'm not. I don't do cancel culture well. I don't do stuff like that, because I just
Yeah.
believe in restoration and redemption. But if I step over into a new day in me and in God, and you choose to keep me boxed in that day, but I didn't cut you off. You just out of time. You are
Wow.
out of step. You that's just, you made that decision. And so I think it is just very important for us to just, and I love that revelation you just gave. It's just, we get to have more really than 7 days. We get to have as many
Absolutely.
days as we would allow light to come, right?
Come on. And you just gotta
As we can
trust.
separate light from dark, as we can assign
Come
morning and
on.
evening, we get to have as many days in our own personal evolution that we want to. And people who are on the outside decide, they make the decision whether they want to take the daily journey with you, based
Mm.
upon what day they're willing to live in with you. If you're living in my yesterday, then you're not relevant to my today or my tomorrow, because your time has passed. But that wasn't my decision. That was your decision not to change with me.
Come on, word. I mean, I'm
You
with that
started.
because each day literally has something new, and that is where the faith comes in. Because a lot of people are afraid to step out of a day simply because they know that something was created, and they're nervous about what could be created next. But
Right.
one day may be the fish, and the next day may be the vegetation, and the next day each day is going to have something, and you don't know where it's coming from. But you got to
Right.
trust that what's coming is necessary for what's about to come next.
And that's true. I mean, and I think that's what's so great to see you evolve, and that you're still pastoring people, and not in the titular sense. You're in the tactical sense. You're pastoring people because you're opening them up to seeing life from a different perspective. All of what we
Yes.
do is not behind, and what I'm finding, all of what I do and how I impact people is not behind a pulpit and four walls. And I hope people who are church leaders especially are finding that out now, since we are not since we're not supposed to be going back to church, that you're
Right. Not
finding
supposed
yourself
to. Yeah.
being effective. And some people, I talk to some of my friends, man, they just got to go back to church. They got to go back to church because that's their identity. Their anointing
Mm.
only works in church. Their greatest charisma only works in church. And to be able to, I go to church to film Sunday messages, but that's about it, and I just do that because that's where the technology is. But however, you see, I'm in my house now.
Right.
That we've got to be able to, I think a key word is to the next level of love and success is to innovate. We've got to be
Mm.
able to innovate. We've got to be able to
Yes.
look at some things. There's nothing wrong with a 76 RCA or Zenith or television, but when they got flat screens now, that weigh a fraction of that and have better clarity and can get more
Yes.
channels, why would you keep the RCA or the Zenith when there is so much better? And that's when there's the way that we used to communicate love, the way that we used to view success in the past, that they were good, nothing wrong with it. But if there
Yes.
is a better way, if there is a more excellent way, right? If there is
Mm.
something that will make life more peaceful, and help us to grow, then why not do that? Why not?
I agree, like completely. And that is such a dynamic point because we are experiencing these moments that are pushing us to be different versions of ourselves. And the people, I've literally watched some of these messages online that people sent me links to. Never went to the church, but I watched. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm at home anyway. I might as well tune in, support a little bit, and to tune in and to see them try so hard to recreate a moment that you can only get with everybody in a building, to recreate a moment when your praise team is not really there, to recreate a moment when you're not able to take up an offering with people present. I mean, there's been some bad church online. There's been some, can I just say, some bad, like bad, just
Right,
like
right.
boring, boring, bad, poorly produced, like all of it. And it only shows that people aren't willing. Like, it only takes watching a few YouTube videos or listening, watching some people who are doing it well to understand what it takes and shifting that gift, because that's all it is. It's shifting your gift.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who has good aim has good aim, and learning how to shift the gift of good aim to something else. If you can talk well, you can talk well. But you got to know how to shift it to another medium,
Right.
and that takes some work. People think they just want to snap over into something else.
And we're not. We're not going to do it, and I don't think we'll ever go back to that time. I think we, especially as church leaders, and I'll speak from that, and or even music or gospel musicians and artists, we become addicted to the histrionics that people are addicted to about us. And so when we
Yes,
cannot put on the theatrics, when we cannot do
yes,
all that they're used to doing, we don't know how to find the relevance in our gift, because they're addicted to us squalling. And so every moment that we have, virtually, we feel like we gotta do that. And because we've become addicted to what they are addicted to about us. And then and to evolve and to innovate runs the risk, and this is a real risk, of you having your fanship or your audience changing. And
mm,
when you're not as performative in one iteration as you used to be, and you gotta discover where you are now and what's needed now and what you're saying now. When there is no audience, when there is nothing to draw from but the gift and the call and the song and the music, um, that's how we'll tell if you're authentically supposed to be doing this. You know what I'm saying?
I
It's
agree.
just that this is the whole issue. One of the things I dared to do, of course I didn't know it, and I had the option not to, was to release an album in the midst of a pandemic. And we had planned all of this stuff, Byron. Oh my God, did we planned a tour and all these things. And every day, and that week I came out with Kiara Sheard and
Yeah.
some other heavyweight. I was like, oh my
Mm.
God. And the week before, the Clark sisters had just released their record. The week after, Jonathan McReynolds. So I was sandwiched in all of this stuff, and I'm like, Lord, I don't have the power positioning in the industry that they do.
Mm.
And so what am I? My record is going to get lost. And I remember me praying, and I heard that voice that I know so familiar. He said, "You gotta give them who you are, and you gotta innovate. You gotta learn now. If you believe in you,
Yes,
if you believe in
yes,
you, no matter what you do, they will. That I love the Clarksons. I love Kiki. I love of Jonathan McReynolds. But they ain't but one L.
yeah.
Spencer Smith. Ain't but one of me. And I'm gonna do what I
Come
do.
on,
And
talk about it.
whoever loves it, loves it. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. But guess what? They didn't like it before COVID. So I mean, really, it's just. I think daily, Byron, we have to figure out how to help people beyond the fear of innovating. Because and that innovation starts with ourselves. Um,
Mm.
and then I was talking to a friend of mine, and the whole mantra, everybody's like, "You're good enough. You're good enough. You are enough." And I asked them, and I wasn't trying to be glib. I said, "But what if you're not? What if you're not enough? What if you're cheating the moment?
Mm.
What if you're cheating this moment? What if
Come
you're
on,
saying you're
talk that
enough,
talk.
but you're really not? You're not yet. You're not. You've not done the readings. You've not been introspective. You've not become
Mm.
authentic. No, you're not enough." And they stopped, and there was silence on the phone for a minute. I was like, "Oh God, I'm getting ready to lose a friend." But I didn't want them to be comfortable in that cliche of "you are enough." And I'm
Yes,
like, this moment requires more from you. So no, you're not enough to handle this kind of moment. You're not enough to handle this kind of moment. And so, I think what you do on a daily, just teaching people about love, the expansive nature of love, how to weed that. It's just so important in the times that we live. It's such a relevant subject. And all of us are not just called to teach, to speak in tongues and to say, yay, yay, the Lord thy God. Some people need to teach us how to live this thing daily.
Daily.
That's
Yes.
what you do. So that's what you do so well. So I'm glad you ain't in the pulpit.
Me too.
Changed,
I
right?
tell people all the time, the pulpit was one of the places that restricted me the most. It really was. My definition of God expounded the moment I left the pulpit. And it was actually what was a key factor of me leaving the pulpit was actually going to seminary. It was learning that God was so big, like learning the amount of passion that people have for their Muslim faith, that people have for their Jewish faith, that people have for the Christian faith. It way back then, and the different sects of Christians that have been throughout time. We've all had different thoughts and understandings, and so it really is the integrity of the spirit is your own personal journey. And when you learn that, and you learn that the Bible is really a collection of love stories, people finding God and finding themselves, when you realize that, then your own story becomes as important as the Bible. And you realize that you are just as sacred, that you discovering yourself is as sacred as discovering the words in that book. And that is why I like doing the work I do now, because I'm helping people realize their own sacredness.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
is what helps people live higher. It's not just telling people, you got to love yourself and you are the best version of yourself right now. No, it is, baby, have you really read yourself? Have you really dug into, have you really pulled out a concordance and looked at the words of your own life and done the research about why you've done the things you've done and where you're headed? Because when you do that, then you fall in love, not just with who you are and who you could be, but who you've been in a new way.
Right, right, right. We live vicariously. One of the detriments of scripture and not being able to get people to understand, to really personify their own personal, authenticity, to discover their own epistleship. You know what I'm saying? Not
Mm,
apostleship,
mm,
but that they themselves are an epistle, that's read of all men. Is we begin to live vicariously through David, vicariously through Abraham, vicariously through
yes.
Moses, and we venerate them to sainthood, and we forget that these are narratives, and the narratives that create a meta narrative of God. God gave you these people so you could understand that each of us are assigned a journey, and at the place that we
Yes.
allow Him to unpack who we are, we could be the next David. We could be
Mm,
the next chapter could be written of us in this holy script. So many people are trying to interpret the scripture through uh, means and lenses that are so tainted. And I'm trying to be very politically correct here, but they are
I'm with you.
it's the blind leading the blind. And oftentimes we lead people in a circle and a cycle of never being able to self-discover, because that's
Mm,
not what Paul said, that's not what David did, that's not where Moses went, that's not what happened to Abraham. And so we're trying to relive these experiences, and instead of discovering the five smooth stones in our own weapon to deal with our own personal giants, right? And we know
yes.
what the end result is, but we get to shouting and bumping, but we don't do the forensic study, the study of ourselves, and to say,
Mm,
to handle this Goliath, I am not enough. I haven't tapped into the confidence. I haven't done all this.
mm,
And so you
no.
still evolve. You're still coming to better. You're still drawing closer to God and His divine will for your life, because
Mm,
at the end of the day, He wants you to be you. He comes so you can have life and more abundantly. And that's not running around the church, man. That ain't that. I mean, that ain't. We thank God for all of
that,
that, praise in its place. But at the end of the day, I want to walk around the neighborhood, walk around the house, walk around my relationships, and be comfortable just being L. I want to be on this
Mm.
Instagram and just being comfortable being L. You know, I took a picture and, you know, one of my friends hit me up like, dude, what are you doing? Why you got your eyes like that? Why are you smiling like that? What's up? And I was like, what do you need me to be? Ugly? What do you need me to be? What do you need me to be? You know, the bishop don't look like that. I'm not. Listen, you're talking about guys who are 80, 70, 80 years who still dyeing their hair at Beijing, who still got, I mean, come on, who still buying cars, who you know, whose first and second wife have died, and now they're on their third young wife. What are you talking about? All I'm doing is smiling. You know,
Right.
but again, that all of these things happen because we've not taught people how to live authentically, how to love authentically, how to measure success and good success by the faith and favor that God has given them and not through somebody else. You know, that's how we can begin. I can celebrate you for the freedom you have, and you can celebrate me for the freedom I have, because
Yes.
we're not in competition.
At all.
We're in compliment. You showing me that freedom is possible. I'm showing you that freedom is possible. And what if your freedom is 10,000 people and my freedom is 100 people? We both free. How about that?
How about that? How about that? I was
Right.
just talking about that. That is so true. That literally right now we are in a space where there's such a shift, right? And we know that there are characters in the Bible that are well known, but there are also some very important stories, and some of my favorite have no names. You just know them based on their condition and what you were able to learn from the story. I am very encouraged by those stories because they still make it in the book. You know, you got to understand, whether you had a big name or no name, as long as you can live the story that's effective for your life,
Yeah.
that's really all that matters at the end of the day. You know, having a great name, like, and praying that prayer, Jabez, and having an enlarged territory, and all these kind of things, that's all good and well. But at the end of the day, the best thing to ask for is, God, allow me to live the life that will be pleasing to your sight. And the sight that God has is the one that is authentically you. So
Yeah.
God doesn't want to see somebody else when he looks at you, because God already sees that. God wants to see you when
Yeah.
God looks at you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it's a certain man went, a certain woman, no name, no,
No name.
just a certain one, right?
A
We
certain.
a certain one, and what we need to do, or better yet, continue to do, is get people to continue to live in their certainness, right?
Yes.
Because my name may never make it. You may not be Bartimaeus. You may not be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You may not be Hannah. Your name might not be mentioned, but when you are certain about your certainness, he but you're still
Come
searching.
on.
There was still something that is powerful. There was still something that is so important for this moment. And so I think it is very key and critical. You know, I mean, while we're on it, I think one of the things that I love about you, and now I'm the interviewer, right, is how we how we are both attracted somehow in life to talk about the subject of love. And
Mm.
that really has, for the last decade, been something that I've been really unpacking for people. You know, this whole idea of loving God, and just whole loving the God kind of love, and what that looks like, and how that really feels to have and possess, and how that helps us unpack and develop, deal with our issues, is that whole idea of love. And you know, I listen to you often. And I mean, I'm like, that's my brother right there, because he know what to say. He know what to say about love. Why people are afraid of love?
People are afraid of love because love is God, and to love yourself is to love so deeply the unknown. Um, it is hard. We deal in tangibles, right? We like things we can see, smell, hear, touch, taste. We like tangible things. And so to love yourself is to love the unknown about yourself. Sometimes you do things and you don't know why. And you got to love yourself even in the I don't know. And sometimes there are going to be some things that you want to do and you feel conflicted and you don't know why. And you got to love yourself in the unknown of that. And so love is hard for yourself. And now when you think about someone else, you got to deal with the fact that you are imperfect when you interact with other people, because their imperfections are a mirror of your own. uh, what you're actually seeing in the imperfections of them is actually the reality that you
Yeah.
are imperfect.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
hard in connections and relationships to embrace the fact that I got to love you the way you are, because I struggle with loving me the way that I am. And so I would rather wear this facade of the title, talk about the title, of the title, because the title in my eyes is higher than my ability to love myself as I am, because it's something I can understand. It's something I can wrap my mind around. But you understand that the title is actually weaker than you. The
Right.
title is limiting you. The title is constraining you. The title is a box. And if you can love yourself with or without the title, then you actually have the greatest measure of power in your life.
Absolutely. And and that is the journey of love. That is learning how to love yourself with the unknown. One of the things I tell people, we've got enough love to cover what we know, but do we have enough love to cover what we find out? Because all of us
Yes.
are on a personal discovery, first of all with ourselves, and then of course others. And I cannot require them to love me beyond my ability, first of all, to love me beyond my own flaws. I can't ask them to love me into loving myself. I have to learn how
Hmm.
to love myself and bring the best part of me and the worst part of me and say, okay, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to hide the worst part of me from you. I'm going to bring the best and
No.
the worst part of me and ask you, can you love all of this? Because if you can't love all of this, the best and the worst of me, you can't. You're loving me beneath the privilege of my life. You're loving me on a level beneath of who I am, because it takes
Mm.
all of that to love me. It takes that kind of love. That's how God loves me. I bring the best of me and the worst of me, and he says, I still love you. None of that is going to change my mind. And one of the
Mm.
things that people do is they always put their best foot forward, and then they hide that cripple foot, and then they get in relationship, and
Not the
they get
crippled
in
foot, Lord.
relationship, right? And then they start limping. They start, they start limping, and the other person's like, "Yo, where does limp comes from?" Well, I always had this limp, but I didn't give you an opportunity to love the reality of this limp. I just wanted you to love my good foot, but I didn't trust you enough to love my bad foot. And so we've already made love handicapped in relationships, because if you're gonna love me, love all of me, or don't even bother.
Yes.
Don't bother me. Just leave me alone. If you're just gonna be loving me for the best parts of me, because there are days where none of the best parts of me can be found. I
Yes.
just I'm just terrible that day. And you got to have enough love to love me through my terrible spots and not throw me away. Because love me like God loves me. Try to, at least.
Mm.
And it's the
Try
greatest.
to.
Right, try, please try to. Please try to.
I
And
think you're saying something powerful right there, though. That try, because you understand that when people talk about what you're talking about right now, they're often talking about baggage, right? Like people have baggage, and normally carries a negative connotation. But what you're saying with that limp is just like baggage. It is something that is real to my life, real to my experience, real to what I've been through. And its baggage has its weight based on what's in it. And some people have more of that baggage than others. Uh, we often look at the person with the baggage as the person with the problem. But really, if you're trying to get with somebody, you got to be the one that is strong enough to handle the bags of someone else, because it's not really about them. Their bags are there. That person has the bags. Like that, they're not going anywhere. But the question is, are you strong enough to handle the bags of the person that you're saying you want? And that is the question that people have to come into your life willing to answer. Am I strong enough to handle your baggage as a friend, as a lover, as a business partner, as anything? Like, am I willing to handle that? And if it's not about you with the bags. It's about me and my strength level. And that is the reality. Like, if I'm a baby, you wouldn't give me a 50-pound weight. You just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't give it to me. It's more about me. The weight is the weight, right? The weight is the weight. And that's why I believe that there's always people for people, because
Yeah.
there are some very strong people out there who know how to handle the weight of people. I'm one of those people that, when I have friends now that are in my life and family members who go through a lot of things, they got a lot of baggage, but I know how to carry the weight. And that really is the difference of self-love. It's because I know that I have weight, that
Yeah.
I have to now realize that I got to be able to carry other people's to make it make sense. And that self-love level allows other love to be expressed for other people.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's
yeah.
powerful, and I mean it's so, and it puts us again in an authentic, unique space when we can take ownership. From my background, Pentecostal. You know, we uh, we didn't talk about baggage, we didn't talk about weights, we didn't talk about that side of us that was still in us post salvation. See, I want to make that because, and so we didn't know how to articulate struggle. We didn't know how to articulate baggage. We didn't
Mm-mm.
understand that it was the limp of Jacob that caused him to be re-identified as Israel. That
Yes,
it
come
was
on.
that it was through that limp, it was through that thing. And what the Lord made sure was is that Jacob could no longer run away from himself or from relationships of restoration. And so that limp literally changed the course of Jacob's
Yes.
life. And so many times we make people feel bad about their limp. We make them hide it. We make them, because we have this diluted sense of perfection that we require other people to be, even though in our own personal causes we got crutches and wheelchairs and walkers. And the truth of the matter is that we need somebody. We need somebody to love us and to the totality of who we are. Even the things that we discover as we mine our own souls, mine our own spirits, mine our own purposes. And it's like, oh man, I didn't even know that was there. Or I'm still trying to get better in this area. I don't need you to
Yes.
leave me when I'm trying to get better. I need you to encourage
Yeah.
me, stay and encourage me when I'm trying to get better. I might be down at halftime, but don't leave the game. Stay there. Stay there and cheerlead me on, especially if you believe I've got the capacity to win. And I think that's what love does. I think that's how God loves. That's how we got to love ourselves, and that's how we have to love each other. And not be
Yes.
afraid of that, and not feel like nobody wants to be a fool in love. And I think sometimes it. I think
No.
sometimes love, the price of love is being a fool for someone in a moment, in a season. And I'm not talking about being so stupid that you allow yourself to be abused. But what I am
Right.
saying is that at some point you got to look at somebody and say they're worth me sticking around in this bad
Mm.
place. I'm worth they are worth me getting dirty with them. They are worth
Yeah.
me kneeling in the ground with them. They are worth me, that man on the way to Jericho who fell amongst thieves. That Samaritan said, "This man is worth me getting some of his blood, some of his dirt, some of his
Woo.
experience on me." That's what love is that you're worth me getting, being a little bit contaminated, if I can use that word, with who you are.
Absolutely.
you know Getting a little dirty with who you are, just to see you get better, because I want to be
Mm.
there celebrating you when you get better, because people get better. my God, people get better.
People get better.
I promise you they do.
So,
They do.
somebody needed to hear that line right there. People get better.
Yeah.
The reality is if you can change, someone else can too. And I think that's what it is that we struggle with other people believing, especially like someone does something, we're like, oh, I can never trust them again. And you realize what you're really saying is about yourself. And you realize that like when those words escape your mouth, you really are speaking about yourself. You really are speaking about your own view of you in the mirror and your level of trusting yourself. You know, you say, oh, every time it's micro moments. It's, oh, I'm going to work out, and then you don't. And you slowly lose trust in yourself. It's, oh, I'm not gonna eat this today, and then you find yourself having closed up the wrapper of another fast food meal, and and you're like, but you're putting on other people that they can't live up to their word, but you have with your own self the
Right.
experiences that you can't live up to your own, and so that's really what it is.
Yeah. Man, that's really what it is. And again, it's the work, it's the introspective work of understanding that what we can't love people through is what we're afraid that we can't be loved through. And that's key. That what we find a difficult time trusting people to recover from is what we're saying about ourselves, is that I've got a difficult time trusting myself to recover from XYZ ABC. And
wow,
we got to treat ourselves better. And I think God is standing back looking like they idiots. They really they really don't understand what I'm trying to do here. They don't understand the purposes for which they are alive. They don't understand that.
Wow.
And so, we're in the season now where I believe that love is intention. It's being pulled in all kinds while we grapple with who lives matter, what lives matter, who matters in the, and the issue is, I think when people hear that, they're hearing who matters most.
Right.
And when they're hearing who matters most, they're afraid to say who matters now. And, if and I think that's what we are in our culture, but that's what we are in I think we're going to come out on top, but not without some stretch marks, not without some tears, not without some frayed relationships, and some re-examining of what we consider to be truths. I think we need to really examine, one of the things I've been challenging people with is examine truth, examine the truth, about truth about love, examine the truth about your pain, your hurt, your relationships, what you perceive to be who you are. I believe that we can have multiple gestations of our own identity, that we're not just one person. We're not just one iteration of ourselves. We can't be in the image of an I am and not have an I amness about us, right? He doesn't give object. He just said, I am that I am. I am perpetually. I can be what I need to be for the moment I need to be it. And if we're created in the image and the likeness of the I am, we too then have the ability to become relative and related to other things around us, and to form that. And I think, again, like you said, it's fear. People are fearing the unknown of diving into their own I amness. And love gives us the ability, the freedom to explore what I am, what I can be, what I can become. Because I'm in a group of people, or have relationship with some folks that allow me to be me, allow me to be what I need to be when I need to be it. And if I mess up being that, they cover me, because love covers a multitude of fault. And so it's I think it's an amazing time. And what this conversation that we're having today is just so very needed, man, in the world.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is time right now for more people to have the talk about self-love, self-expression, self-identity, to know self, to be very clear about who you are, to be confident about the unknown even of who you are, to say I don't know and be okay with that. I think that is the biggest thing that I struggle with helping people with, is really helping them get to a point where they can just say, I'm not sure. I'm not really clear, and that's okay. And that too is a part of the journey. That too is a part of my path, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with not knowing. I often say life is like a scavenger hunt. It's yours to find, and you have to
Yeah.
be comfortable with the fact that there are the things there that you will find, and that they still are a part of you. They're yours. They're assigned to you, and that just by continuing on in confidence, you will find them. That you aren't lost, because if it's owed to you, it's attached to you, it's assigned to you. Not knowing where it is, not knowing who you are, doesn't
Right.
mean you are less than. You are still as valuable as those things, even if you haven't found them yet.
Yeah.
So I believe that wholeheartedly, brother. It is
Yeah.
my whole heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
What else
gotta
you want
thank
to
you
talk about?
because, well, I just gotta thank you. First of all, I want to make sure people know where to get your stuff and know where to find
Oh,
you and know what you have coming up next.
wow. Well, I just did this new record, Hooked. It's on all digital service providers. It's been doing well. It debuted Billboard number 7, and so
Yes.
that was a blessing. And I'm L Spencer Smith. lspencersmith.com on my website. L Spencer Smith on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like we're sharing right now. What's next? Actually, I'm getting ready to do a virtual concert this week, Wednesday. So we're getting prepared for that. I'm writing a couple of books on this downtime. One of the books is called Finding Your Oxygen. And now, listen,
Yes.
I definitely, we need to have a conversation about that. I'm gonna get you that book so we can talk about it. But Finding Your Oxygen is even before all of the corona and
Yes.
the George Floyd situation, the police brutality, seems to be an attack on the ruach of God inside of us, and that when he said, and God breathed into man, and he became a living nefesh, a living soul. He became
Yes.
aware of himself. He became
Hmm.
aware of three realms: God aware, self aware, and world aware.
Hmm.
And when we allow life and people to rob the breath, to rob the oxygen, we can live 70 years asphyxiated and suffocated under the expectations of people, and never finding our own gifting. And one of the, like I said, this last decade has been such a learning. I had to live that before I could write it. Knowing that I was more than just a preacher, knowing I was just more than just a husband, a father, all these other things that,
Yeah.
sometimes labels limit us. And we don't know what to do in pressure. But the airline tells us that when the pressure gets at fever pitch, there is a mask that will drop down.
Hello.
It's an oxygen mask. And they give it a caveat. They say, put it on yourself first before
Always.
you try to help other people. And Finding Your Oxygen, the book, is about putting on your mask first underneath all of
Mm.
the pressure, so that you can have the air to live and be sustained to help other people discover who they are. So
I
yeah,
love
so
that.
that's what
I
I'm.
love
Listen, I
that.
don't know what these other folks mad about, Corona and COVID. I'm in the house working.
Hello. That's what I said. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, no. We gotta get some work done.
We
This
gotta
is
get to
this
work
is
done.
time we will never get again in life. I promise you. You will never have this free time. You will ever no. You will never ever have
No,
this much time.
no.
So if you don't use it now, woo, it's gonna
Yeah,
be wasted. There are a lot of people who are coming out of this with some. That's some good stuff, brother.
yeah, man.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that one, because that is I am on board for that message right there. I believe that with my whole heart. So
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
yes. Well, I gotta thank you, brother. You are one of the greats. I really
Man,
mean that. Watching you throughout the years, you really continue to be one of the most prolific men that I know, in the pulpit and out of it, and just keep doing what you're doing. I love to see
thank
where
you.
you are right now. It's really reassuring, reaffirming of the work even that I do. To see someone like yourself be willing to get in this mindset, I'm really praying that a lot of pastors and bishops and apostles and prophets and all of those, they come to this awareness because I promise you that Jesus was multitudes. He was people. He was outside. He was walking. He was amongst. He was not where they were going, but where he was, they came. And there
Yeah.
was a isness because of his ability to just be so transparent, so clear, so focused, so confident, self-confident about who he was, his assignment, his purpose, to be unintimidated by the authorities and all of these things, that it changed how people felt about themselves. And that is why I feel like the church has lost its effectiveness. That is why I feel like the church has really slipped when it comes to converting people and helping people really day to day. It's not because of all of the little things they do in church and shouting and all. No, it is because we have lost ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we get back to that, when we get back to the cussing, the cussing Peter and the lion, when we get
Yeah.
back to those who are not afraid to be themselves in a moment and to let you see their flaws, when we get back to that, that's when we will really be more effective again. And we
Absolutely.
just got to do it in our own circles,
Absolutely.
day by day.
Absolutely. And I mean, and this work is great. And I join you. I join you in this work because this part of my life is my passion. This part of my life is helping people. And you mentioned cussing Peter and lying Paul, all these different people. All of these adjectives were never enough for God to throw them away. It was never.
Never.
It was never enough. And we're looking for reasons for God to throw people away. That's a very important thing I just said. We are looking for reasons, and watch this. And when we do that, we become Satan, because we become the accuser of the brethren, bringing up to God reasons to throw our brothers and sisters away. And so we don't even understand that we could be the very devils that we're trying to cast out, the very Satan that we're trying to, try to get out of other people, because you're accusing them of, and I'm like, wait a minute. Stop trying to give God reasons to throw other people away. It's not going to happen.
Wow.
I mean, and even Satan has access to the Father. According to Job,
That's true.
he gets access to the throne with the sons of God. So, I mean, these people, we gotta learn how to love each other and embrace each other and accept each other and just do our godly assignment to love. And man, I really appreciate you just for giving me this opportunity to sharing your space, man. Because many people don't do that. They don't like to share space like this, and I really appreciate it. I mean, I really do. I really appreciate
I
it, and
understand, brother.
affirming who I am, and because I definitely affirm who you are, brother. You're an amazing mind, an articulate mind, an intelligent, and a loving soul, and that combination together, man, is just a blessing. It's a treasure. It's a rare find in the earth, and man, I'm glad.
Mm.
I'm glad to be connected to you in that way.
Same here, brother. Thank you. And I have to say that just as simply as that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's been a long process of becoming that. And I think if anybody who saw me from the beginning, very beginning, my parents, my mom's on, I believe, but she would say, it's a long time coming. And I've been through enough to understand what you said, that life is one of those things where if you allow yourself to find joy and peace in the journey, you will be okay. I promise you. Everything is in finding love along the journey. And that's why I really am in this space now in this season where love is my primary goal and love is my primary focus. I believe that while we can talk about finance and having Black Wall Street, and while we can talk about politics and we can talk about education, we can talk about the legal system, if in our own community we could really develop this and really nail this love thing down, a lot of that would fix itself.
That's
A lot
true.
of that would just fix itself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
brother, thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank
And
you.
look, we got more work to do together. We got more work to do out here and just keep stay connected. Let's keep encouraging each other. And to everybody who is watching today, I thank you so much for being on. And yeah, thank you, brother. You really are a dynamic soul. Thank you, and keep doing it. Much success to your works. And I'm waiting on that book. So hit me up when you got that thing done. All right.
I definitely will. Thank you, man. You have a blessed day.
You too, brother.
All right, man. Take care.